Of all the games I thought I'd make as a game developer, a math game was not on the list. Growing up, math and I had really complicated relationship. I wasn't terrible at it, but let's just say I spent a lot of time staring at those problems, hoping the answer would reveal itself through the power of friendship. And somehow, years later, I got the opportunity to build a game that teaches kids one of math's most confusing concepts, which is really simple for us adults, until you try to simplify and teach it to children. So, in this video, I'll show you how I got the opportunity to make educational games, how I built this math game from scratch, why I ended up reworking almost everything, and at the end, we'll find out whether I successfully turned math into a game or accidentally turned the game into math. Now, let's be honest. Math has been the common enemy of children for centuries. Okay, maybe not centuries, but definitely since schools were invented. You know the feeling. The teacher writes a problem on the board, everyone starts nodding, and somehow you're sitting there wondering if everyone actually understands or if the entire class is participating in a coordinated Oscar-worthy acting performance. Every single time math is being discussed, my brain always goes somewhere else instead. I'm thinking about sleeping, video games, lunch, why is that kid eating paper? Literally anything except fractions. What's worse is when I tried asking help for math homeworks. Not only did I get scolded for not knowing the answer, but I eventually started believing something dangerous. Maybe I'm just bad at math. That alone causes a massive problem. Fast forward a few years, I somehow survived school, made it through college, and ended up studying game development. A few months ago, I applied for a game development internship at Knowledge Channel Foundation Inc. And somehow, they accepted me. Which means, either I impressed them, or they made a terrible mistake. We're still figuring that out. For those unfamiliar, Knowledge Channel is a Philippine non-profit educational television network and multimedia platform dedicated to making quality education accessible to learners across the country. Their mission is helping students learn through engaging educational content, especially communities that may have limited access to educational resources. And honestly, I thought that mission was pretty amazing. Then they gave me my task for the first week, and this is where things started to get real. My task was simple. Well, at least on paper. Create supplementary educational games connected to specific educational video and lesson series that they have made. The idea is brilliant. A student watches a lesson and then play a game related to that lesson. So, instead of just watching information, they actively interact with it. They get to practice with it. Sounds easy, right? Wrong. Educational games exist in one of the hardest design spaces imaginable. If the game is too educational, kids think it's homework. If the game is too entertaining, they forget the lesson completely. Somewhere in the middle is a magical sweet spot, and finding that sweet spot became my job. I was tasked to build 5 supplementary educational games throughout my internship. But to challenge myself, I set a deadline to finish it all before June ends. Looking back, I may have slightly overestimated my sanity. But I wanted to grow my portfolio, improve my skills, and challenge myself as a developer. Our subject for today's video is my game number 3, which is the math game. Kinda ironic how the kid who used to zone out in between math classes was now voluntarily making math games. So, what is the field of math to teach anyway? No, it ain't algebra, not geometry, nor calculus, thankfully. We're focusing on comparison symbols. You know, greater than, less than, and equal to. The game is targeted for first grade and second grade learners, around 6 to 7-year-old kids, which sounds simple until you actually try designing something for 6-year-olds. And boy, let me tell you, when a 6-year-old tells you something isn't fun, they'll let you know immediately and harshly. So, I started creating concepts of what the game loop or game flow should be. My original concept was inspired by Pinoy Henyo. If you're Filipino, you already know it. If you're not Filipino, think of something similar to 20 questions. One person knows the answer, the other person keeps guessing. I thought, what if I turn that into a math game? The player guides the NPC by narrowing the number down using the signs greater than, less than, or equals to the NPC. You starting to see the vision? The first phase of the game loop worked like this. An NPC contestant is trying to guess the secret number. The NPC says, "Is it 5?" The player then responds using comparison symbols. Less than, greater than, or equal. If the answer is actually 8, the player presses greater than. So, the NPC has to guess higher than 5. The NPC keeps narrowing down possibilities until it finds the answer. Simple, educational, interactive. Then, I added a second phase. Now, it's the player's turn to guess. The contestant now helps you by giving clues. Something like number greater than 4, number less than 10. And using those clues, the player figures out the mystery number by selecting the correct number from the choices given. Basically teaching comparison symbols through deduction. At this point, I thought I was cooking. I spent days building the logic. The NPC needed to remember previous guesses, avoid repeating numbers, narrow down possible answers, not to mention the bugs, lots of bugs, the kind where everything works perfectly until one button gets pressed, the kind where one issue creates 3 new issues, the kind where you stare at the screen for an hour only to realize you misspelled a variable name. If you're a programmer, you know ball. But eventually, after days of coding, it finally worked. And I was proud, really proud. It's like I gave birth to my son, looked up upon his face for the first time and just knew. I just knew to name him LeBron James because of how great he is. So, I packaged everything up, submitted version 1, and waited. Now, to be fair, they were incredibly nice about it. Very supportive, very professional. But the feedback basically translated to, great work. Now simplify everything. Not just the mechanics, everything. The flow, the interactions, the complexity, the concept of the game, the entire game. And of course, as a calm, cool-headed as I was, internally, I was like, but the more we discussed it, the more I realized they were right. I was designing the game like how I would play it, not like a 6-year-old playing it. And those two are completely different perspectives. I kept asking, would this mechanic be interesting? They kept asking, would a first grader student understand it immediately? Now that question changed everything. And I understood. I saw the vision. Because educational games aren't about showing how clever the developer is. They're about helping the learner understand. Suddenly, all those extra mechanics started looking unnecessary. So, I started cutting, removing features, removing complexity, simplifying instructions, simplifying everything. And weirdly enough, the game became better. After all the revisions, all the debugging, and all the redesigns, I finally completed the final version. The version you're seeing now. The version that's actually simple enough for young learners to understand. Kids today spend more time on screens than ever before. Roblox, mobile games, videos, apps, and let's be honest, that isn't changing anytime soon. Parents everywhere are trying to manage screen time, and that's a challenge. But if children are already spending time playing games, why not give them something that's fun, engaging, and educational too? And if such games can make even one math lesson feel less intimidating, that's already a win. Looking back now, it's kind of funny how the kid who dreaded math class somehow became the guy spending sleepless nights building math games. Not because I suddenly fell in love with math, heck no, but because I remember exactly what it felt like to struggle with it. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Sign It Right. Let your kids play to think, compare, and get it right. You can actually check out the game yourself on my itch.io page. It's available on Windows and for Android mobile. Links in the description below. I genuinely love to hear your feedback, whether you're a parent, a teacher, a student, or a fellow developer. And I don't really know if this game will completely change how kids learn math, since unfortunately we couldn't really test the game out publicly due to the lack of available data groups to play test it on. But if one child becomes a little more confident when they see a greater than sign after playing the game, then every bug, every late night, every redesign, and every setback was worth it. Subscribe.